Okay, there we go. Our cameras weren't showing up the first time.
Very nice.
So now we're live. Welcome to the stream.
Sick.
Uh, so we actually did manage to get a lot done, given that we only had really one day of like actual work going on. Um, since I streamed on Monday. So, let me get that list up and we can start going through. Um, I guess, do you want to start with your stuff or should I start with my stuff?
I guess both of them are fairly visual. You can go ahead and go for it. I'm trying to clean
Okay.
something up right now.
So, one of the first things I did, which ended up being more of like a back end thing, is I made our um, card editor and our unit editor, which I've shown you guys before, a bit more Git friendly. It used to be that these editors would compress stuff into a zip file, and that zip file would have to be sent over Git, and that would create this problem where it's a binary file, so it wouldn't merge well when we both made changes to it. So now what it does instead is it just keeps a folder structure in existence and only compresses the stuff to a zip file when the game is being played. That way, Git can just manage that stuff for us, which makes it much easier to work with. Um, Another thing that I worked on, which we'll end up showing off a little bit later because it requires a lot more setup, is that you can now play multiple matches during a single play session. It used to be that if you played one match, won it or lost it, and then tried to play another, there would just be a multitude of errors that would occur. We've basically worked all of those out, and you're able to play multiple games with no problems that we've noticed so far. Um, Another thing that I worked on, which I'll need Ethan's help for to demonstrate, um,
Mm-hmm.
is that we're now capable of, or the units will now look at each other when they're attacking, as well as their attack animations will be canceled um, properly when they stop attacking, and that just adds a little bit of visual um,
You didn't invite me again. It tried
handiness.
to
Yeah,
launch through Steam. Cool.
weird. Um, so yeah, it adds a little bit of visual clarity to what's going on with the units when they're attacking each other. Oh, and this is something else we added that you're seeing right now. There's like a little intro animation at the beginning of the game before it lets you play. It's kind of garbage right now, but it it was just a proof of concept basically. I also
As
have a
unpolished as it is, it adds a lot because before you would be facing neither base, you'd be facing the wall, and you'd have to
yeah.
spend the first couple of seconds figuring out what side of the map you were supposed to be attacking. So it's
Um,
helpful nevertheless.
Throw a spawner down in the middle
Play.
if you have one.
Play.
All right, and let's get these units to attack each other. So I've got this guy.
Swoosh.
Ethan's sending a guy up. I'm gonna have them fight each other. Or actually, my guy's gonna walk away. I'm gonna walk behind Ethan
Swoosh.
and sabotage him from the back. Um, and you'll see that they'll face each other when they're fighting, and they won't animate. What? What is going on?
I think your server, um,
It's throwing a lot of errors. What happened?
yeah, I'm guessing it has something to do with the unit changes.
Maybe. Well, I'll reevaluate that and see what happened.
I
That was working earlier. Maybe it didn't. It's not working now.
I noticed that
Play.
well, now look at your spawners.
What about him?
Did you pull
Swoosh.
what I did? Because
Just now? Did you do something just now?
yeah,
I did not
well,
pull.
not just now, but there's um there's no UI over those objects. There should be a
Whoopsies.
UI that
No,
says
I'm one change behind apparently. Wait,
yeah,
am
yeah, it's a big
am I
update.
many changes behind? Oops, sorry guys, we're gonna try this again.
And then you just
Betcha I
one big
was.
update.
Um,
Because I also got that I'm guessing since you were the server, got that my but spawner was level 0. It should be level 1. Yeah.
Weird. Okay, let's try this again. Let's see what happens. Whoopsies.
And I'm ready when you are.
Okay, Wait, the server failed to build? It said? Server failed to build. Why? Oh, did you accidentally push your folder structure? Yep. No. We're gonna, we have to ignore this
Or
file.
just ignore it, yeah.
Next time, I will, real quick, y'all are gonna get to see some
I've already got the Get Ignore open.
debugging.
What's the folder path? That's...
It's, I might just right click it and hit add to Git ignore in the thing when I do it here.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome to do that. I've already got the Get Ignore open because I was gonna ignore the bundles.
Oh.
So only the folders would get passed.
That's a good idea as well, actually. Okay, well that should sort that out.
Whatever, we'll do that later.
And I'll just throw that in the Git ignore. Okay, I think it built. I kind of just cleared that log without paying much attention. Ignore file. Alright, it's been added to the Git ignore, except it's not ignoring it. It added the file to the Git ignore, but then it's not ignoring it.
Because it's already tracking the changes. We'll deal with it later.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Let's play. The server should build this time, and it should be fine. Yeah, server built. Okay, check this out. We're gonna try playing again.
Very cool process. It's kind of satisfying. Having at least that work.
Mm-hmm. Alright, now we can...
Okay. Spawner.
Play.
Level 1. That is the way it should look. Cool.
Swoosh. Cool. Let's have these guys fight, and then after that, we can start going into some of the other stuff that's been done, because there's more. Swoosh. Of course there is. Okay, well, you saw that they looked towards each other last time, so that's fine. We'll see if they'll actually animate. I guess not. I'll have to do some looking. It looks like the server is throwing some sort of error. Oh no. It's throwing so many errors. Please, kill my guy. Have them kill each other. I think that'll fix it, because then they won't exist. Oh no. Do you have like a murder card or something you could throw on him?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, that stopped the errors. Alright, well, I'll look into that later. That's not important. So, what else is on my list of stuff? I fixed some issues with highlighting. That's not really that cool. You used to be able to see the enemy's stuff through the wall, now you can't. Very cool. No wall hacks for you.
Which is, yeah, valuable.
And then there's some other stuff. The main base is now face towards the middle of the map, and that was important because of the spawning animation that it played at the beginning of the game relied on the direction of the main base for its animation, because it attempts to put the camera behind the main base at the end of it. But yeah, that's about all I did. Just a bunch of minor little fixes here and there. The animations were working earlier, I swear. No, they're not. It's fine. I'll do some research later on why that's not working. Anyway, let's hop over to Ethan's screen, and we'll show off what he did, because it's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, so I've been extremely lazy today, but managed to pull together the structure system bit by bit to kind of implement the side of things that allows you to put your deck into your hand. So currently, actually, if you don't mind, I'm gonna host the game and you can join.
Yeah.
To demonstrate this. So currently my version of the game, the reason we're doing this, my version of the game has a starting hand that only has one card in it. So this deck that I have here should perfectly demonstrate what's going on with that. Did you get the invite?
Yeah, let me close my server. I'm readied up.
Cool. There you are.
I got a key not found in dictionary exception. What?
Yeah, I see that too.
Is my deck invalid or something?
Successfully connected.
Well, I guess I'm
I
in
don't
game,
know.
so it doesn't matter.
No, it does matter. There should only be one card in the... Oh, no, because that was for testing. A manuscript should have one spawner. Okay, we'll do it one more time.
Okay.
Basically, what you're going to witness, fingers crossed, is a single card called Spawner, which is the teleporter that you saw in the past. But this time, instead of just spawning units close to it, it will unlock your deck. So you start the game with the starting hand that is defined for that game mode, or the starting hand that you decide to put in your deck. We're not exactly sure how it's going to play out yet. But what will end up happening is, you can see I only have one card. This is my starting hand. When I play it, it will begin to take, it's level 1 right now, so any cards that cost, converted cost 0 through 4 will start getting put in my draw pile, which will then start, there we
It's just
go,
the
going
timer's going
into my
slow because we're in
hand.
the actual game mode.
Right, and then we draw a card. Cool. So I happen to draw a spawner, which is great, because another thing now with this is we implemented yet another on play function. So when I play a spawner card, I can either play it in location like I normally do, or I can play it on another spawner, and as you see, it'll upgrade the level. So now I'll have access to the Ethereum generator, which I think has a converted cost of 6. So now we're going from 0 to 8 cost cards. And they'll continue to put cards in your deck as long as they are available to be pulled from there. And then the same thing with our research generators, which some of them are acting a little funky.
Play.
But you'll see this one is metal. If I can find another Ethereum generator works. So if I play another Ethereum generator on top of this Ethereum generator, you'll see this green bar is its capacity. It's currently got 1 out of 1. And we'll probably telegraph that a little more clearly. But if I play another Ethereum generator on it, you see another slot opens up. So now this can hold 2 Ethereum.
Swoosh.
If you look up in the corner, boom, 2 Ethereum. And
Swoosh.
these allow us to open up new
Play.
gameplay opportunities. You can have
Swoosh.
2
Play.
smaller research
Swoosh.
generators or whatever. You can
Wait.
Oh,
Never mind.
basically, this is the entirety of what we needed to make the game
Play.
functional. Make the game, function.
Play.
So
Play.
that's really all I got done today, but it's kind of fundamental, so
Swoosh.
it's valuable, which means we're very soon going to be talking about actually implementing the cards and coming up with those ideas. And there are a few things we need to do in between there, but it's a good idea to go ahead and start talking about them and making them along the way and building them up.
Before you close out the server, too, I want to try something fun on the stream.
Go for it.
Put down a spawner, like a new one.
No can do, Chief.
Why not?
I don't have any more.
But they're in your hand.
I spent them all.
There's one in your hand.
Oh, there is one in my hand. Where do you want it?
Anywhere.
Whoa.
That's exactly what I was about to test, is if I can upgrade your spawner. play. I can.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some
Yes.
checks in there. I noticed that as well too.
Swoosh.
I can play um a spirit collector on the Ethereum generator and it'll upgrade it.
Oh, really?
Or actually no, I apparently I just added that change and it's currently in Git, but for you can play any generator on any other generator that would normally upgrade and it'll upgrade it.
No, it played
So
my Ethereum generator just fine. I can
mhm,
put it on your Ethereum generator, like my Ethereum generator on yours will
yeah.
upgrade yours, but if I put it on your Spirit Collector, it won't work. Although I can
Spirit
put it on
collector
your
just
metal.
doesn't work at all. Yeah.
I can put
Yeah,
it on your metal.
some of them are broken. I do not know why. We'll figure
No,
it
I
out.
can't put it on your metal. It rejects my play of that. It actually rejects my play on your Ethereum generator as well.
That's because it's fully upgraded.
Oh, interesting.
Once it reaches level 3 currently, can't do anything else.
Okay.
So that's all that was done today.
Cool. Still some good stuff though, because it is fundamental, like you said. Also, oh my God, what the hell are they doing? I need to figure that out. I don't know if you can see
Mhm.
what they're doing. Look at the spawner I had you play that I upgraded, and then if you look underneath it, there are 3 units inside of it that are kind of leaning at an awkward angle while attacking it.
Very impressive.
Yeah,
I like it.
they're very cool guys. These guys.
Coolest.
You know what? I bet you the
Cool.
server was throwing a lot of errors while that was happening. Attack animations.
Yep. All right, server's dead.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, that's about all we have to show off right now. But I mean, we're getting very close to the alpha MVP, um, which is kind of crazy. The alpha version is going to be lacking some other fundamental features though, like projectiles and status effects and stuff like that. But the it's going to be playable, which will be cool. Um, and I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be fun. So another thing we
You want
wanted
to
to
talk
do,
through some of the card ideas?
yeah, the other thing we want to do on this stream today was go through some card ideas and just sort of talk about cards and what they're going to be like. Um, maybe brainstorm some ideas. Just fun stuff like that. Also go through some ideas that I've written down. But yeah, Ethan's got the document pulled up, so we can just start going through it. I know the top of that document needs to change because those rarities are not accurate anymore.
Yeah. We've got a bunch of different ideas. Very few of them have been implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and though I don't think it'll take much to do, let's just go ahead and jump down to a lot of. I think all of these are creature ideas.
No, I have a few spells in there, but they're lower down in
Cool.
the list, and a few
Yeah, so you've
artifacts.
got basic units. We'd really like to implement status effects. Those currently are not going to be available. Again, lightning would probably be a status effect.
Yeah, stun would be a status effect.
Um, would you like to talk through these? Because most of these are yours, I believe.
Yeah, I can talk to them. Let me pull it up on my screen, and then I will go
And
through
just
it.
talk about the ones that excite you.
Um, Let me transition us over to my screen. Okay, so a lot of these card mechanic ideas are like a mixture of ideas from us, and I like a lot of them. Um, I think most of these are pretty good when it comes to mechanics. So some cool card ideas that I actually really like are I like this one, the symbiote. I didn't make this one. Ethan made this one, but I think it's a good idea in the way that it works. Shields regenerate. So basically
Yeah,
it has.
I could
Yeah,
explain the
go
ones
for it.
that I came up with since they're my brainchild.
Mm-hmm.
This unit would be a non-offensive unit, but it would uh, kind of based off of the amount of healing it's able to do, help itself. so it wouldn't really be able to do much damage, and it would be pretty weak in other regards. However, since we have shields in this game, we can give it a segmented defense stat, so it comes out extremely weak. You could just flick it and it would fall over dead. However, if it's surrounded by other units, then it gets stronger. The shields increase, and it's able to the way it's able to increase its shields is by healing allies, or we had talked about removing negative status effects or something like that. So it would be a very tactical unit that would have to hide amongst a swarm, but it would be really useful for swarm tactics and big battles,
Mm-hmm.
which could be fun. I really like the king concept as well. Not exactly sure how it would play out, but there's a concept called taunt in Hearthstone, which says units have to attack this. Um, and I think there's something similar in Magic Menace, but the
Yeah.
idea is any unit within range of this unit will have to attack it before it attacks anything else. And since we have the ability to defend and follow units, I thought it would be cool to make the unit's toughness equal to the number of units that were defending it or the number of units around it, like friendly units. So again, swarm tactic nonsense, but um,
Mm-hmm.
thought it was an interesting synergy at the very least.
So I have a few down here. I'm not as happy with this one. This was a very early concept, and it's a very complicated card. The Entomancer. Basically,
Yeah.
it's a tanky unit that doesn't do like any damage whatsoever, but also anytime it takes damage, it spawns a random bug minion, which would be like a very uh cheap and lightweight unit, depending on the unit. So I had 4 different bugs here. Spider, which was fast, had low damage and low health, and it applied poison, which obviously we can't do right now. But Centipede, it had a medium speed, medium damage, low health. And when I say medium speed and medium damage, I'm thinking this would probably be like a 2-1 at the most, because otherwise it'd be overpowered. Rhinoceros beetles were supposed to be slow and tanky, but they'd also charge at units and deal damage when they charge. And then there was the praying mantis, which was supposed to be the high speed, high damage, but very low health. It had an execute as well, but I don't think that's really as useful anymore. um,
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea, but it is extremely complicated. One way that we could maybe preserve the concept is to turn it into an artifact, make it like a beehive, or maybe we could
that'd be cool.
make it a beehive on legs and only have one unit that comes out of it. So every time it's shot, it spawns another bee or wasp or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just be weak and swarm.
Yeah.
Seems like we really like swarm tactic cards.
No, you got some better ones in there. Um,
Yeah.
I wrote a note here. This is way, way, way overloaded, which is true. It's a very overloaded card. This one I like, and I still want to maintain this character. At least Cyborg Necromancer. So the idea behind this unit was basically just if a certain number of units died around it, it would revive those units, and they could be enemy or ally units that die. It would revive all of those units on your team, but maybe like weakened, with some sort of weakness applied to them because they're revived. So the idea is that, yeah, basically if 5 units died around the Necromancer, it would then revive them. The ability has a long cooldown, so it couldn't just be spammed if there's like a big fight. Um, and then also yeah, it would just summon stuff for you. And it wouldn't do that much damage. I said it was tanky, but did low damage apparently. Melee range, I don't know. That stuff can be sorted out later. Here's some other ones that we talked about a while ago, and this is kind of similar to the symbiote, but not really. Shield healer unit. So the idea behind this one is that it's a unit that has 4 shield segments, which a shield segment is basically just like, let's say you have 4 shield is your total shield, and you have 4 segments. Each segment would then be one shield, um, in value, and then if that one shield was depleted, damage wouldn't carry over into the next shield segment. Instead, it would just negate the damage that would carry over into that next segment, and then an effect can be triggered when the segment breaks. So they're kind of tanky. They resist high damage stuff. So if something that would deal 3 damage attacked this thing, it would actually only deal 1 damage to each segment each time, which means you can pad out damage.
It sounds really overpowered, but I imagine that this would basically protect from uh, high kinetic stuff, so rifle shots and asteroids that fall from space, but a fire would probably just go straight through it. So if the unit
Mm-hmm.
had 1 health,
Anything that does
and they stepped in a fire, they would die very quickly.
anything that does like, and I wrote down in some cards below that like I wrote down like specifically like, hey, the card does this damage in burst, or hey, the card does this damage like slowly. So like if a unit is 2/2, it's possible that the unit could attack every uh, second with like a high damage burst where it does like 2 damage in one shot. Or it's possible that it's like maybe it's got a minigun and it does that 2 damage in a consistent way over that time, and that would the shields would be very effective at countering the 2 damage burst, but very ineffective at countering the slowed 2 damage over the same time period. And that's like the general idea. But anyway, so when the shield segment breaks on this unit, it unleashes a burst of healing, which just heals every nearby ally for 1 health. With each burst. So each segment that breaks, up to 4 segments on this guy, so it could heal up to 4 health total on surrounding units over its lifespan. Um, I had the same concept with a damaging unit, so instead when the shield segment breaks, instead of it healing nearby allies, it damages nearby enemies. Um, I had to do half a damage with each burst because 1 damage felt like too much for how often this could go off. And then I have this guy, Thorn's shield unit. So the idea behind this guy is very similar, except he's only got 1 shield segment. And basically, every time he takes damage to his shield, it would reflect half that damage back to the enemy that dealt it, which could be very strong against like a sniper. If a sniper shot it and did like 8 damage, it would reflect 4 damage back to the sniper, which might kill it. Might be overpowered, but that would also break its shield instantly. So, and then it's basically just useless. It also doesn't have any attack. That was something else. It can't attack. This particular unit doesn't deal any damage. It only deals damage through its reflection ability. I also gave it a really expensive cost. Wow. Okay. Oh, it had taunt as well. That was the advantage. So it would force stuff to shoot it and then reflect the damage back. So I see what I was thinking with that. I had this other cool one. This one I talked about a while ago, and I really like this idea. I really want to make this card. Orbital Laser Spell. Basically, what it would do is you play it, and it would lock you out from playing cards while it's playing. But basically, so it would do a 2-second delay where it charges up, and then after those 2 seconds, the laser would touch down on the map where the card was played, and then the laser would attempt to slowly move towards the player's mouse or like wherever the mouse is in the world. And the laser would deal 3 damage per second to everything that it hits. So for a total of 12 damage. Um, so it does a lot of damage, and it might even apply a burn effect in the future if we introduce status effects. I don't know. But the idea behind this card is basically it it locks you out from playing cards for a little bit, but it does a lot of damage um, in the area, and you're able to move it around slowly over that time period, meaning it could deal more damage or damage to a lot of different things. Um, and then I had some simple spells like Empower. It just gives them +3/+3. That's it. Amalgamate. Unit gains +5/-5. So it would make it stronger at the cost of its health. So this would only be effective on like a tank, and it kind of is like a stat swap. I don't know. These cards are kind of up in the air. They can be whatever. I don't really care.
A lot of these are just really like far end of the spectrum concepts that we take and refine and make more practical. But pushing them to the limit, I think, is the most interesting way to design, and then kind of rein it in.
Mm-hmm.
So
I had a basic gray alien here. Like the gray's stereotypical alien. He's just a 1/1. That's it. I also made him cost 1 colorless, so he would cost any. You could play any color to summon him, because I realized I was like, a creature that generic doesn't really fit into one of the 3 categories, so maybe they should just be colorless, and any color can play that unit. I don't know. It could be whatever. For
It'd be
generic,
interesting to have. I mean, we'd already talked about having crossover unit or color types, so having one that is able to just be flexible and show up everywhere is it's probably a valuable design decision.
I had a bunch of grays. I had like a whole series of grays because I think that it's a good idea to keep a lot of. At least in our first card set, since we were planning on doing like 50 units and then 50 other cards out of the 100. I think of those 50 units, each one should fall into a race or like a species, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we should go shoot for between like 8 to 12 of each species up to that 50 cap. So there'd be like 12 grays maybe, and then there's 8 Oovering, and then there's 10 of something else. Who knows? That way there's like a group of that type of species to work with, and then we can have spells that say like, give all grays this, and there's enough grays for there to be variety. But so I had these other grays that I came up with. Fused gray, basically he's just 2 grays fused together. He's slow. He walks slow because they're like fused together, but he does 2 damage and has 4 health. And he's able to attack 2 targets because he's like 2 people mixed together. And then he costs 4 DNA to play. I don't know. Yeah, obviously, all these stats are up in the air, but I have Cyborg.
Yeah, you mentioned you had come up with a system for deciding cost.
Yes,
Right?
I think this one doesn't follow that because I think this was one of the
Cool.
first cards that I made when I was working with that system.
Cool.
Because this should be 3 according to my cost, and then him being able to attack 2 things probably could cost 1 more. Maybe that's fair. I don't know.
And then this would probably take off 1,
But then he'd cost
being
3.
slower than average.
I would say that I wouldn't take off for this necessarily. Just because then he'd cost 3, which I feel like is too cheap for something that can attack 2 units.
Fair.
Especially something that can attack 2 units and deals 2 damage in each
Per
attack.
hit.
So it's technically got
That
like a
is
DPS
true.
of 4.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that works. Maybe this is a -1, but this is like a +2 because it's doubles the DPS or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Cyborg Gray. It's a similar concept, except that instead of being melee range, which this guy was going to be melee range, by the way, this guy's got like an arm-mounted cannon and a bionic eye, so he's ranged. And instead of dealing big hits of damage, he shoots rapidly, meaning he does damage, smaller quantities of damage, adding up to the same total damage as somebody who did like a big burst. And this will allow us to play with attack speeds and stuff like that. This guy would be good at dealing with shields, like we were talking about earlier, because his damage is more consistent.
So we're talking, rather than a cannon, this is probably like a laser beam kind of thing.
Yeah, like a gun, I guess. I guess I was thinking cannon like I don't know, like a Mega Man cannon, but it's probably more accurate to be like a minigun or like a chain gun that's on his hand. This guy I thought was cool. I really want to make this guy. I think he'd be cool. Brainiac Gray. Basically, he's extremely squishy, 1 health, but he's a 4/1. His brain is bigger, and it gives him psychic abilities. So what he does is he's ranged and does really high burst damage. So each shot would do like 4 damage, but he's got a big cooldown between shots. And his brain lets him do like psychic abilities, and there could be some cool particle effects that go with that. And then this guy also has a split cost. He costs 2 DNA and 2 spirit, because the psychic abilities are pretty spirit-like, but the enlarged brain is pretty DNA-like, so I'm thinking that might be a split cost guy. Mothership. The Mothership is an overcomplicated card that I don't know if I like or not, but Basically, when it enters the battlefield, it temporarily gives all of the Greys a morale boost, which increases their speed and damage by 1. Um, and then upon also it's a 0-4-8, so that means it has 0 damage, 4 health, and 8 shield. Upon its shield being broken, the mothership will crash land, um, which deals damage to enemies that it hits, and then it explodes, knocking those enemies away. The
You
advantage here,
might, instead of having it be an intentional crash, just have it end up crashing in the direction that it was heading and not be discriminate on who it damages.
yeah,
Because doing a map wide boost is kind of huge, and if you can manage to get it to crash into
something.
uh, if you can shoot it down and have it crash into the same units that it was helping, it'd be an interesting
Oh,
tactical
that'd be interesting. Yeah.
change.
The idea here, though, with it, like what I said earlier, is that it crash lands when the shield is broken. So you're probably thinking, what's the health for then? Why does it have 4 health? So that's because some cards might be able to attack health directly while ignoring shields, meaning that if you manage to destroy its health bar without destroying its shields, it would never crash land. It'd probably just explode in the air or something. Um, which adds like a different way of countering the card. You could shoot it down if you have units that attack health directly,
Mm-hmm.
um, or a spell that attacks health directly or something, um, which is interesting. Jacked Gray, this is just it's the Charger from Left 4 Dead 2, or Left 4 Dead, either of them. He's just a gray with a giant arm that does a lot of damage and charges at people, so quite literally ripped off from the game. Um, I have another card here, Oovering Slave. Um, this is basically just a slave from the Oovering race. He costs 1 colorless, and the advantage here of him being a 1/1 is that he's of the type Oovering as opposed to the type Gray. So I think that we should probably have a 1/1 for every type, with the only difference between those being the type itself. Which could be good if, like, say you have another card that says sacrifice 3 Grays. If you have 3 1/1 Grays in the field, yeah, servant might be a better word. Um, okay. I have Spirit Bomb. It's just a fireball, but it's called Spirit Bomb. It costs 4 spirit. Um, yeah, that's it. Deals 3 damage to target location. It's just a fireball. Oovering Cleric. It's 0/3/0, so it's a cleric. It just heals stuff. It would prioritize the most injured unit in range, and it would heal them 1.5 health every interval, which is like our 5-second interval or whatever that we have right now. Whatever we're calling that. Oovering Super Soldier. It's a 2/2/2. It's a ranged cyborg unit. Single target high damage per shot. When its shield breaks, it gains an extra damage. Um, it costs 4 metal. I don't know. Here's some cool ones. These last 3 are cool. Me and Ethan had a conversation about this last one earlier. To make it better, Stone Golem. It's just a tank basically. When it dies, what it'll attempt to do, and we talked about this earlier. Originally, I had it explode, and if it dealt 4 damage while it exploded to any amount of units, it would revive with health equal to the amount of damage it dealt. What we're gonna do instead, I think, is when it dies, it'll start a timer where it'll start trying to suck in souls around it, and if it manages to suck in enough souls, it will revive with health equivalent to whatever it dealt.
Which is very similar to if you played Warframe, Inaros's Death, and I definitely like it having pull sucking, like physically pulling units in a nearby radius towards it, and if it can't acquire enough by the time that its timer runs out, it just dies.
Yeah.
So you can have a way out of that. You won't just end up losing the game if somebody has one of those.
Mm-hmm. It also can only do that once, so if it were to revive, it wouldn't be able to revive the second go around. Um,
Mm.
Black Rose. This is kind of similar to a Black Lotus from Magic, but not at all actually. It's just the name is similar. It's an artifact card, which is like a structure that you play that isn't a structure. I guess I don't know
It's
how to
kind of a
describe it.
cross between a unit and a structure.
Structure,
It doesn't
yeah.
have any special purpose in the core mechanic of the game, but it sits in a place
Mm-hmm.
and has an effect on units and or the environment. And in
So
this case, it's based on the number of units around it. You'd put it in the middle of a battlefield or off to the edge of a battlefield, and the more units that die around it, the more spirit it produces.
yeah.
So it kind of acts as an alternative to having a spirit generator, and it'll continue to do this until I guess it reaches
5 is
deaths
what I had
nearby.
written. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you play it for 2 spirit. It has the potential to generate 5, meaning that you'd net 3 if you can manage to get it that far or keep it alive that long. But it's very fragile, um, very fragile, and the units have to die near it. So you have to kind of put it into combat, and then have units die near it.
low
So
risk reward.
yeah, I also think we should have cards similar to this for every color. That way, it's
Sure.
not just Spirit that has these alternative mana generation cards. Um, Orb of
Yeah, we should
Chaos.
also consider trying to keep things playstyle oriented. If I wanted to play a certain way, then I would want to play Spirit. Because
Yeah, that too. I wanted to ask you
you,
about that.
I don't think that it would be a good idea. Because if we try and keep things very even and well balanced between them all, then we're really, instead of saying, how do you like to play? It's more, what clothes do you like to wear?
Yeah.
You know, instead of trying, because we can go into that with visuals and cosmetics, but I think that it would be a good idea to have very clear archetypes for the different play styles and then
Hmm.
cater to that with our card design rather than trying to be too
Yeah.
flexible.
And I was thinking about that
Is that what you think?
while I was writing these down, but I was like, I really don't know what the archetypes are. I want to talk with Ethan about
Yeah,
that and see
yeah. So
what
we
they
could do
are.
that right now.
Yeah. So obviously, spirit is like spells and shit. Um, what kinds of creatures would you expect to see in the spirit? Um, also, do you want me to swap to your screen? It looks
If
like
you
you're
would like to, sure.
writing a document.
Our key types. I'm just writing at the bottom.
Oh, oh, oh.
So
I'm gonna switch back
we
to mine.
have 3 different types of gameplay styles. Play to win, um, play to impress, and play to explore. Uh, Maybe we can detail this a little more. Basically, play to win is efficiency, everything. I don't really care what's going on. I just want to win the game. I want to have that score at the end that says I did it. Play to impress is more. I'm probably not gonna win, but look how crazy this massive alien ship is. I got it out. I'm happy. And then the explore is more creativity, which is again challenging to pull off, but very interesting when it does. So this is probably going to be our kind of set that has 3 cards that are required to be out to do anything significant. But when those 3 are out, they unlock a very interesting synergy that allows you to do something when you play another type of card.
Mm-hmm.
So something that would be challenging, but very interesting. Uh, So high spender. Okay. Play to win is going to be the hardest because I can't. I mean, really, that's going to be determined by the meta of the game. That people are going to decide
Mm-hmm.
that. But that's probably where your 1/2 or 2/2 cost cards are going to come in with absolutely no interest in the way that they are structured. Creativity is going to be a lot of problem solving and synergies, which I think Spirit might play into very naturally. High spender, I think, is going to be metal just because it's, well, maybe we shouldn't lock it into play styles. I think
I think.
every resource should have some aspect of all three of these.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what each resource does to accomplish those, I think, should be different, the
Yeah.
play style. So,
I think.
um, resource archetypes. We've got spirit, metal, and DNA currently. Spirit is tactical. Metal is tanky. And DNA is um, overwhelming.
Yeah.
Or
So is
numerous.
DNA? Yeah. Okay. DNA is the spammy. Um.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can have the crossover. You can have a tactical swarm, or you can have a tanky swarm. It's extremely expensive. You can have a tanky tactical
Mm-hmm.
unit. I don't know. Um, and that's kind of, I think you had one like that, and maybe not, but
Tanky tactical unit.
or there's a spirit metal combo, but we can, I think, try and align things like this. And I really like the idea of approaching these ideas from the actual idea, but I think it might be a really good idea too to just look at it from what it is and what's missing and say, how can we make this make sense in the lore? Or how can
Mm-hmm.
we give this a cool name and a pretty picture and just do the numbers to make something that is tanky and tactical. And I think the tactical stuff is going to be the most challenging things, but the most interesting things as well.
Tactical will probably fall under a lot of spells and maybe even a lot of spells and equipment maybe. Although metal might be equipment too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tactical, spelly, few units.
I think the or metal is going to be artifacts a lot. A lot of artifacts. I picture a lot of artifacts in spirit as well, but
Mm-hmm.
metal might be. I think more than just tanky is going to be defensive. So metal might actually be a balance of spells and units,
Defensive artifacts.
and maybe some units are artifacts. I don't know.
DNA probably would have a bunch of spells if we want to count them as spells, but they'd be more like augments, where it's like give augment unit to have +5, -5 or something, or
Essentially, yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I imagine that's where most of the generic boring units are going to come from, especially if we're going to follow the idea of them being genetic abominations. There's probably not going to
Mm-hmm.
have, there would not have been enough time for the DNA or the creature to have developed into something really useful. But, uh, damn, I lost my train of thought. Oh, this is probably going to be our play to win heavy. People are probably going to prefer to play the DNA side of things.
What other archetypes? We should decide on all the spell or all the card archetypes first. So we had creatures, spells, and artifacts right now. What else is there? There's enchantments. Or what do we
Which
consider an
is a
enchantment?
subtype of spell.
Yeah, it's like a sub spell. Um, We had equipment cards, which are also similar to spells but work differently.
Yeah, and also similar to artifacts. I don't know if we should break them up that much. We could. It could be again an equipment could be an artifact. Equipment could be both.
Mm-hmm.
An artifact equipment artifact. And the card type should be determined based off of the gameplay characteristics of it. Spells and sorceries we had talked about would be they would take different amounts of time to execute.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be a reason to separate those. It would make sense to separate a totem pole from a sword because they're going to be played differently. But other than that, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Magic only has 6 of these archetypes. Um, they have lands, which would be our structures. They have creatures, which would be our creatures. They have instants, which would be our spells. They have enchantments, which would be our equipments and our enchantments. Probably would fall under that.
Artifacts.
They have they have artifacts, which is their own artifacts, and then they have sorceries.
Artifacts in Magic are extremely flexible, is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are artifact units, there are artifacts, enchantments, sort of.
Yeah, our artifacts are just. Our artifacts are defined as being somewhere between a unit and a structure.
Right, and an enchantment. Well,
yeah.
again, I don't know. Artifact is also pretty flexible because I don't know. Maybe I like the idea of having an artifact unit. I imagine a stone golem would probably be an artifact. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's getting a little too close to Magic. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, they've figured what works.
Should there be like a circle here, like a rock, paper, scissors between these three? Or should that just be through?
No, it's not a bad idea.
Natural.
Yeah, you'll find what counters what. I don't think that there's. I think it would be difficult to strictly counter it, but I think it's a good idea to have some guidelines and ideas to say, generally speaking, this does this, and this is something that stops that.
So maybe spirit counters DNA, DNA counters metal, metal counters spirit. So the defensive play style kind of counters the spells because the spells can't really break through that. But spells and AoE units tend to counter numerous units, while a numerous amount of units can kind of counter defensive units because they can't keep up with the numbers.
Right. Yeah, that seems to work pretty naturally.
And then that would work with the way we have this set up too right now, where Spirit has few units, very spelly, very tactical. So they have spells, they have enchantments, few units. Metal is defensive, so they have bigger defensive units. Maybe not as much damage, or maybe they do have the higher damage units as well. I don't know. Some spells, but artifacts are a big key part of it. They have a lot of the artifacts compared to Spirit. Obviously, all 3 of them would probably have some artifacts, but metal has the most.
Right. Yeah, maybe. It could also be that Spirit has artifacts, and I think the enchantments would be played out in through artifacts. Because I picture artifacts being stone imbued with spirit for the most part. They would be pieces of relics from the past.
I'm imagining different ways
Maybe
of it
the
working.
name artifact should be changed.
Yeah, Because I'm imagining artifacts being both what you're describing as well as being like metal machinery things that kind of just exist on the field.
Yeah.
Contraptions.
Yeah. We'll just call them things. Then we can do whatever we want with them.
Let's go to thesaurus.com. This is my favorite website. Artifacts. Fruit.
That's weird. That's as in product, as in relic. Or antique.
Yeah.
Yo.
Memento. Fragment.
Fragment was going to be a resource, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were considering it. Remnant.
Monument sounds cool.
Monument.
Souvenir.
Heirloom. Memorial. Remembrance.
Handicraft.
No.
Vestige.
Vestige is cool.
I don't know what it means.
You can't define it on Thesaurus.
Definitely not true.
A surviving evidence or remainder of some condition, practice, etc. Wow. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't think that relic is the best one. Look at fabrication or handicraft.
Deceit, falsehood, fiction, forgery, myth, untruth.
Well, that's definitely
art, craft, creation.
I don't think we're gonna find something that is so broad. And if it is so broad, maybe we shouldn't use it for those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because artifact doesn't really mean. I mean, we have the concept of a unit that doesn't move.
Yeah.
But
Gizmo. Doohickey. Thingamajig.
Mechanism is probably the closest that we would get. Mech.
Structure.
Mech implies walking machine. I think mechanism. If we replace it at all, mechanism. But other than that, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a good use of time.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Let's hop back. So I think these three archetypes kind of make sense though. Spirit should definitely be spelly enchantments. The others seem good. DNA, I imagine it says few spells, but maybe the few but strong spells. Maybe few but strong because they're more like augmentations than they are like spells.
Yeah, maybe. Or rather than it being few, it should be weak. So spirit would have strong spells and tactical spells. DNA is probably just damaging spells that are weak. And cheap.
Cheap spells. I have another suggestion I'm going to write here with a question mark as well, which is spells but at a cost. So think
sacrifice a unit.
Gain this but lose this.
Oh, I like that.
Gain X but lose Y. It's a trade-off. It's an amalgamation or a whatever.
Which gets into a tactical. So maybe we'd find a lot of that in between DNA and spirit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. This kind of does fit with spirit as well. Mm-hmm. These, I'm thinking, at least with DNA, maybe it's a lot of these but relating to stats, while spirit is a lot more of that relating to other things. So, DNA is like gain 5 health at the cost of 5 damage, while spirit might be gain 5 health but at the cost of sacrificing another unit or something. Because I imagine DNA being about stats too, since it's like, I don't know, it's DNA. It seems like genetics are about statistics. Um, Changing your
And maybe
stats.
what about it? We also had up at the tops a lot of mechanical ideas, and one of them was imbue, which fits that. So you could sacrifice a creature card to make another card stronger.
Mm-hmm. Imbue would make sense both with spells. I think it would make sense with a lot more with spells and with DNA than it would, or with spirit and DNA than it would with metal. Just because with imbue, it's
Right.
like you're stealing their soul in order to inject it into somebody
Mm-hmm.
else, or you're taking their DNA and sort of using it to do something else.
Yeah, I think the metal is probably going to be the least interesting design wise, as far as I can think.
Potentially, I think the artifacts have room to be interesting because they're structures
Mm-hmm.
that don't move, so you can.
We also have the Nexus, which is more of a cross between spirit and metal. The Grey
Mm-hmm.
Goo uh, creature essence thing.
Yeah, if we want to introduce that during this game, we totally could.
Yeah, and I think we should. The idea of it could just go awry after something. Maybe somebody experimented too far, they pushed it
Mm-hmm.
or something.
Or maybe it's like prototype versions in this, where it's not as capable,
Mm-hmm.
or it can't heal itself quicker than it takes damage. So as a result, it's not very effective. Which would
Well, it probably also isn't able to do anything on a molecular level. It's just able to interact with itself rather than creating more
yeah,
of itself. And that's why it doesn't become a threat.
that'd be an interesting card. It's a 1/1 Grey Goo, but every time you play that card, or the card immediately recycles into your deck unlike other cards, and if you play it again, they can merge together to create a 2/2, and then you can just keep playing that card um, if you have more of them to continue merging the goos together into a bigger goo. It's kind of
Gotcha.
like the one idea we had up here, morph,
Mm-hmm.
but instead it just morphs with itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot of cool cards we can explore with all of these uh, concepts.
We start at 7:04.
All right,
So, should probably
yeah.
figure out what we're going to be doing tomorrow and then call it.
So for me at least tomorrow, it's probably going to be more of the same, just finding bugs and fixing them, and doing some polish stuff. Just because I can't start on any big systems right now because we are not in the beta phase, and that's when all the next big systems are going to be introduced. So, um,
Yeah. There's definitely some stuff to do,
yeah, there's cleanup
and
and
I could point some stuff
bug
out to
fixes. Yeah,
you. The editor is going to be the biggest one because we're going to have to wrestle with that for the next
yeah.
couple of weeks. I think I'm going to be working on. I want to make sure that the structure system works effortlessly, and I mean, I think it would be beneficial to start making some cards soon and actually playing the game
Mhm.
to make sure we end up encountering everything that we need to, because like with this stream we keep assuming that what we've implemented is good to go, but we really need to start testing things a
It's
bit
also
before we go live.
a lot of our issues tend to come from just merging stuff together, and then something
Yeah,
breaks.
yeah, so we need to figure out, especially with bubbles, just make sure that's happening.
Um,
But
10 days. Why am I can't do math? Eventually, if we each, when it gets to the part where we're actually putting the cards in game, if we each manage to knock out 5 cards a day, it would take 10 days for us to knock out all 100 cards. But that's assuming we pre-planned everything and like have the stuff ready to go, and it's just a matter of putting the assets in the right spot and um, building the files.
Mm-hmm.
Although if we do our planning right, we might even be able to knock out all 100 cards in one day in terms of like putting them into the game. Like if all the resources are there, like all the models and animations
That's
are
fair.
preloaded, and we
It
have the
won't be.
stats written down, then it's just a matter of
But,
putting it in,
yeah.
which we could definitely do in one day.
Yeah, but the design cost is really in coming up with the ideas.
Yeah. That part we cannot do in one day.
No. Whatever. I'm too tired and beat from the weekend to have anything left in my
I
brain.
mean,
So
it's basically the same shit. Just keep. You're gonna keep going on the structure system. I'm gonna try to find any uh, weird bugs or other miscellaneous things that we need to fix and try to
yes, sir.
fix those out. All right. Well then, I guess we'll call it there for the stream. Thanks for watching. If you're watching, um, if you feel so inclined, please support us on our Patreon. The link is in the description for both Twitch and the YouTube. Um, any amount of donation will be much appreciated, and just knowing that people are interested in our project is more than enough to keep us going. Um, if you want to as well, you can feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel or to follow us on Twitch. Again, the links are in the description on both platforms. We have other social media as well that are in the same descriptions, like Instagram and stuff, but we're not as active on those. But if you want to follow us on those, we do appreciate it. So, yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.
See ya.